John Calamos is a familiar face to viewers of CNBC and to members of the financial services industry worldwide.
Here we are with Apple reaching new highs.
But driven by his personal history, John believes his investment in heritage may provide the most significant returns. Calamos is the founder and chief executive officer of Calamos Investments, the global asset management company that oversees more than $34 billion in total assets. He's the civic-minded businessman behind Citygate Center in Naperville, the office, hotel, and retail complex that is also the corporate campus for his company. The firm also has offices in London and New York. John is a pilot and Vietnam veteran, the author of 2 books and multiple articles on the financial markets, and a self-made billionaire. But ask him of what he's most proud, and he doesn't hesitate: his heritage as the son of Greek immigrants.
The saying I use a lot is, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And that is a terrific strength of character. You don't let somebody else decide who you are. You know who you are.
It's easy to see where John Calamos gets his love of heritage. The family started in the hills filled with sheep herders and olive orchards. George Calamotsos was probably born around 1775 in the village of Kokoni, the beginning of lineage that would reach around the world. John is a descendant of those generations, and like the Greek dreamers of old who stood on the peak of Mount Parnona in one of the highest villages in Arcadia, they could see across a sparkling sea to America. John's grandfather Evangelos was first, arriving April 17, 1908, at Ellis Island. He would not be the last.
My father was very proud, as my mother was, of their heritage. And looking back on that, it gave me a lot of strength of character.
His parents ran a grocery store in Chicago's Austin neighborhood for 30 years.
We lived above the store, so we had a terrific pantry. The whole store was our pantry.
John cleaned the floors, stocked shelves, and had 3 paper routes.
I think the one thing my family learned there is a terrific work ethic. You know, we worked very, very hard all the time.
At 19, he talked his mother into allowing him to invest the family's $5,000 savings, and after painstaking research, bought 3 stocks, including Texas Instruments, Brunswick, and a little company that would come to be known as Alcoa. Investments that years later would help ensure his parents' comfortable retirement.
My mother, you know, she inspired me, but she also, I guess, was my biggest fan. My mother had a lot of confidence in me, and I appreciated that.
At his mother's urging, he became the first in his family to go to college. First at the University of Illinois to study electrical engineering, then IIT, where he studied economics, joined the ROTC, and earned an MBA.
I just don't want education to be really confused with vocation. You know, you don't go to school to get a job. You go to school to learn how to think. You go to school, that's the transformation. The most important course I took at IIT, here you have great engineering school, architectural school, business school, Stewart School of Finance, was philosophy.
In 1965, John headed to the flight school at Webb Air Force Base in Big Spring, Texas. Suddenly, the kid from Chicago's West Side, who'd never been in an airplane, found himself among students from the Air Force Academy, some of them licensed pilots.
All of a sudden, I'm in this very competitive situation, and 1 year later, I'm flying supersonic jets at night in formation in 1 year. And we only graduated 32 or 33 out of the 60 some. When people say, you know, boy, this job is tough, I said, that's tough. This total immersion, getting my Air Force wings, to me was a terrific personal accomplishment. It was physical, it was mental. I'm really proud of the fact that I could get my Air Force wings.
John served 5 years of active duty including a year in Vietnam, where he flew nearly 900 combat missions, often under enemy fire.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot about who I was and risk-taking. Flying airplanes is risky, and so the more you know, the better you can handle the risk. And you have risks that you know about and unknown risks that may come up. And so knowledge is one thing that helps you handle those risks.
Following his tour of duty, John was in the reserves and flew B-52 bombers with nuclear payloads. At the same time, he was studying investing and risk management strategies and was one of the early investors and experts in convertible bonds, corporate bonds that can be converted to stock. In 1977, convertibles became the foundation of his new company.
It's all about how you manage that risk rather than not taking the risk. So what I've tried to do over my career in finance is really build strategies around how can we best manage risk in the financial markets.
He is chairman of the board of Chicago's National Hellenic Museum, the only museum in the nation dedicated to preserving the heritage and culture of Greek Americans.
One of the things the museum is all about to highlight is the way the Greek Americans have lived the American dream. The contribution that the Greek Americans have made to the United States. It's very important that we document that going forward. I am very, very concerned that if we don't do it in this generation, it'll be lost forever.
Later in life, John took his father to Greece. He had not been back to his homeland since 1914, an enriching experience for them.
He told me, if you would have stayed in the grocery business, we would have been bigger than Dominic's today. So he had no idea about the finance and what I was doing. but he still had the grocery store mentality in his mind.
John has no doubt his father instilled in him the values that made his success possible. And he is determined to preserve and protect that heritage.
And I don't always get things right. And I've made mistakes, but I don't give up. I don't just simply give up. We are the last generation to do that. If we don't do it, it'll be gone forever, and we'll be a footnote somewhere. So I think it's really important that we try to do the best job we can to preserve that and give that strength of heritage to the children.